Hello, everyone. Welcome to 19th, or I think it's 20th, I forgot to count, session of PMI question answer sessions. Today, we are going to talk about an interesting topic, assessing and removing impediments or road blockers. This is again topic under people domain. So we are focusing on people domain. First 10 sessions were relevant to agile methodology. If you are not comfortable in agile, go back, review all 10 sessions. They are amazing. And I get, feedback from various instructors like these questions are amazing, like quality of questions, wording, and especially the skills they test. And then from 11 to 20, we have been discussing people management, people domain. And there are different topics under people domain: leadership, conflicts management, negotiation, decision making, personality testing, motivation. So these are also important. Next 10 sessions would be about people domain, and then we will move to process domain. So 10 sessions for agile, 20 sessions for people, and then 20 sessions for process. This is how 100% of the course content would be covered. And maybe we will be having some sessions relevant to um, business analysis as well, or business acumen. All right. One thing that I was discussing before, last week, 7 students passed PMP exam. So total 8 of my students wrote the exam and 7 passed. So that is a pretty good number. And the lessons they have shared is almost similar to what was my experience or what I have shared in detail. You have all the lessons and that document I have already shared on my LinkedIn. You can find that document that we used in the lessons learned session. So go through those lessons again, right? Those would be really helpful to you. If your exam is in this month or next month, don't ignore that video. That is one of the best videos in terms of exam preparation. All right, so let me just share my screen and let's start today's session. All right, I hope you could see my screen. Is it visible to all of you? Can you see my screen,
Yes.
everyone?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, we'll see it.
Yes.
Awesome.
All right, everybody. So let's start. Again, you will be answering in the chat window. I will be giving you around 60 seconds. You will be answering in the chat window, and then we will be discussing. Send those answers directly to me so that you don't influence others. And it would be great if you turn on your video, right? Also, for those who are joining this class for the first time, we conduct these sessions every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we discuss different topics. So this is 19th session we are having today, right? And the topic is address and remove impediments, obstacles, and blockers for the team. This is a topic under people domain of project management. I hope you're aware there are 3 domains in PMI latest exam content outline. One is business environment. Second is people. Third is process, right? So session number 11 to 19, or they belong to people domain. First 10 lessons were agile project management, and next 10 sessions would be about people. And then we will be starting the second domain, which is process domain. All right, I hope it is clear. Let's start. So your time starts now. Question number 1 or 181. All right. I could see different answers. So who would like to explain? Anyone, please, any volunteer, just raise your hand if you are willing to explain.
Me.
Okay, Anton, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure, but I think the best course would be reaching out to project sponsor, seeking for advice, because maybe he would advise like having it outside or maybe renting out some facility for the same event. So I would choose option C at this point.
All right, very interesting point. So what Anton is saying, like you can rent out another facility, right? Okay, keep this in your mind. We'll come back to it. So Anton is saying contact project sponsor. Good. Okay, Troy?
Yeah, I went with option D, request further recommendations from the engineer, because then you can figure out why is it unsafe, what number of residents maybe it's safe for, just gather more of the information, and then from there, then you can evaluate what are your options. You know, do you need to halt it? Do you need to escalate? What do you need to do with it? But I think there's just not enough information there to make a decision for A, B, or C. That's why I went with D.
Great. There is not enough information. We need more information. Okay. Alan?
Can I add, sir? Amar, can I talk?
Just wait, please. Raise your hand and then I will be giving you a chance. Alan, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm the same page. I choose D because before to escalate the situation, I need to understand what is the problem. I mean, like how many people I can put in the building, right? So before to know that information, I can reach out to the sponsor and say, we have a problem and this is the condition.
All right. Thank you. Ahmer, go ahead.
While reading the statement, what I found is, if one thing, that's a politically significant building, one. So it's very important building. Second, the inauguration has to go on, what I have understood from the statement. So the A, it does not go with that because he cannot halt the inauguration. It's a political impact. Second, option B is proceed with the inauguration, but advise the client against using the facility. Can be an option, but what I understood, it should be D, request further recommendations from the engineer, because he does not have complete picture. It's just normal. He should have more recommendations from the engineer.
All right. All right. Thank you. So you're again like we need to have more information. Okay. Anybody else who would like to comment? Now, I would start with Anton's comment. Anton said, rent out another facility. So question is not about like you are having inauguration in that building and the problem is inauguration ceremony, right? It's not the problem. Problem is you have to inaugurate the building, means you have to hand over the building. And just couple of days before, engineer tells you that building is not safe. Right. So the question is not about having or conducting or arranging that ceremony. Question is about use of that building. Okay, Anton, is it clear? Do you understand? Okay. So first clarity is this. Now, you have to hand over a building, but building is not safe for the occupants. Now, what we will be doing? Option 2, proceed with the inauguration, but advise the client against using the facility. It doesn't make sense. Like, what's the point of that inauguration if customer wouldn't use it, right? Right? That would be a gimmick. So we won't do that. We should be very honest and fair with all the stakeholders. So we shouldn't tell public like, okay, this is a project we are going to inaugurate. Inauguration means it's ready to be used. But what's the point of that inauguration if you don't use it? So option B is incorrect. Option C, I'll come to option C. And I'll come to option D as well. So let's first talk about option D. Most of you have chosen option D. Request further recommendations from the engineer. Now, what is meant by this? Request further recommendations. So engineer is saying building is not safe for expected number of residents. Now, what do you think? What could be the possible recommendations? What comes to your mind? Anyone, please. What could be? Engineer would say, use the building. Engineer would
No.
say, partially use the building, like send some people and don't send more people. Engineer definitely, because it's a safety concern. Remember, whenever there is a safety concern, that's the top priority. And I would like to comment on Ahmed's point. He said, it's a politically motivated project and it's a big, large project. Even if it is large project, even if it is politically motivated project, whatever, even if it is significant project, if there is a threat to human life, there is no compromise. No compromise at all, right? Remember this from exam perspective. Whenever you see any question in which there is a pure risk is involved, pure risk means risk to human lives, we avoid that risk, right? We don't go into that direction. So even if we request recommendation from the engineer, recommendation would be don't use the building because it's not safe. So there is no point of requesting for recommendation. And another point is from urgency perspective. So it's not like that you will be requesting recommendation and the engineer has written the recommendation, would give you recommendation right away. It's an urgent situation just 2 days before the scheduled inauguration. So you have to make the decision. A lot of stakeholders are involved, government is involved. So you need to tell them. So option D doesn't make sense. Now contact the project sponsor for advice on how to proceed. So what advice you can expect from sponsor? What would sponsor say? If sponsor says, no problem, let's proceed with the inauguration, what would you be doing? Would you be proceeding with the inauguration? You would not, right? Being ethical, being responsible, being fair, it's our responsibility to say whatever is right, even stakeholders like or don't like. Remember, I have given you 25 points, and one of the points is just say whatever is right, regardless if somebody likes or if somebody doesn't. So contacting doesn't make any sense. If situation is clear, like building is not safe, then there is no point of inauguration. Halt the inauguration and reevaluate the situation. Option A is the correct answer. Let's read the explanation and then we'll move to next question. After reading the explanation, if you have any comment to make, don't hesitate to raise your hand or you can put your comment in chat window. All right. All right. Bilal, quickly, please.
Halt the inauguration seems most appropriate, but what is meant by reevaluate the situation? What can we do?
Yeah, I mean, see what we will be doing. We will be, evaluating the design again, or we will be strengthen the structure, or what we will be doing after that, right? So halt the inauguration, tell them like we won't be inaugurating, and then look for way forward, like what you need to do now. Either you need to terminate the project, either you need to dismantle something, either you need to do the detailed analysis, whatever is the next step. Okay. Bilal, is it okay?
Yes, it's okay. Thank you.
All right. There is a comment in chat window. Do we have enough information to halt the inauguration? There is no other option that is more suitable than this. Okay. The information that is provided in that situation, only option A makes sense. All other options are not relevant. So that's why A is option, whatever information is provided. We don't know if enough information is provided or not. Whatever information is provided, based on that, option A seems the most suitable answer. All right. Okay. No more comment. Let's move to question number 2. All right, who would like to comment? So I'm just experimenting a new method, like rather than cold calling, I'm letting you people decide if you want to say something, you can, right? So volunteer. If you want to share your comment, your logic, the reason why you have chosen an option, raise your hand, please. Okay, Rahul, go ahead.
I feel it's somewhat similar to previous question, that you need to reassess, and so technically the project shouldn't stop. So even though you're having some difficulties or challenges, so you need to reassess the situation and proceed so that you can deliver on time.
All right, thank you. So we need to reassess and we need to find a way forward. Okay, looks good. Manish?
I went with D. The reason being because we have just been informed that they're not able to deliver, but we need to check with them that these are the outline contracts, and they're accountable for delivering it anyhow. If not today, then probably the next day, and they need to give us a timeline of when that should be met. Based on that, we can take further actions. But I think the first communication should be with the supplier to address these disruptions as per their commitment.
All right, thank you. Genemis?
I went with A, to reassess continually to remove, what was that again? To remove blockers for the team. So this looks like a workaround. This is no longer a risk. It has happened. So the next thing to do is to find a workaround to get the team going, and then before you can move on to the next task beat. So that's why I chose.
Thank you. Thank you. Mohan?
I went with B because I feel like this issue has happened, right? And the best way forward is really to drive the suppliers' increased participation and accountability, and try to solve the problem with them. So that's why I chose B.
All right, thank you. Jashri?
I selected A, or I go with A because B, C, and D is quite dependent on the supplier's decision. It is ensuring that he increases the participation and accountability for B. And the supplier based, that is reconsidering the current partnership and requesting the supplier. Again, it's becoming dependent on the supplier, all these three factors. But supplier, we have already, the situation is told that he's unable to meet the deadlines, right?
Absolutely. So unexpected challenges, right? These are not expected things, right? And they're not in control of supplier. Something which is unexpected. So something which is an unknown risk. Like, for example, COVID. If there is a COVID, right, we can't force the supplier to do according to the contract, right? Or whatever the contract is. So request that the supplier address the disruption as per their commitment doesn't make any sense because it's an unexpected challenge. If something is unexpected, supplier can't do anything about it. Reconsider the current partnership with the supplier. There is no need of it because it's not supplier's fault. Define and track specific performance metrics to ensure the suppliers increase participation and accountability. Question doesn't say that supplier isn't participating or they're not accountable for anything, right? So all three options are irrelevant and they're not addressing the problem. Problem is there is an unexpected challenge. Whenever there is an unexpected challenge, you need to work with the vendor. You need to work with all the stakeholders. You need to find the workaround, as somebody mentioned, maybe Chinamis, right? So correct answer is reassess continually to remove blockers for the team. That's the only option that makes sense and that is relevant to the problem which is defined in the question. I emphasize it again and again. look for the problem. Do not just answer what sounds correct. I gave you example multiple times, like telling a truth is a good thing to do, but this is not always the best or preferred form of option, right? According to the situation, you need to assess like what is the immediate action, what is the first action, what is the best action, right? And anything that solves problem, you need to focus on that. So all three options, B, C, D, are irrelevant. Correct answer is option A. Let's read the explanation, and then if you have any comment, we'll take that. All right, I hope it is clear. Let's move to next question. All right, who would like to answer why you have chosen your option? Shazman, go ahead.
Yes, it's a very pretty straightforward question. Option A and option D just cancels out because we don't go into using contingency reserves and communicate with the product owner for issues like this. Sprint retrospective is the kind of platform where we discuss all the issues and impediment that are confronting to the team. So the option is option B.
All right, whenever Shazman says it is a pretty straightforward question, then I get a little cautious. Okay, I'll respond to that. So meanwhile, you think what is retrospective, okay? And when it is done, remember that timeline, and then we will come back to it. Okay, there are two Rahul. I might pronounce your name incorrectly. Rahul Porat.
Basically, here it has been mentioned that there is an issue with the software, and I think this issue can be resolved with the consultation of IT support. Yes, discussion is okay in the next retrospective, but immediate action should be consult with IT support to explore quick solution, so that team does not get hampered for the work.
Okay, so Rahul, your voice is not clear. What I could hear is consult with IT support is the right answer. This is what I could manage to understand, but good, thank you. Rahul?
I think I agree with Shazman. Even yeah, I mean, so basically, you can communicate with product owner for comms purpose, but you need to also have solutions, alternative solutions for it. So that's why I chose C. A doesn't make sense. B is like kind of you need to do something today, but retrospective is kind of after the sprint, like it's in the future. You need to do some. You need to find out a solution today so that you can proceed and timelines are not affected.
All
So
right, but
C.
I think Shazman has chosen option B. Shazman, am I right or no?
Yes, I've gone with option
Okay.
B.
Okay, so
Oh, no,
Shazman
I
has
would say
chosen
C.
B, so you're choosing C. Okay,
Yeah,
right.
C.
So,
Basically,
all right.
connect with IT and find out quick solutions, and apply those solutions and outcomes.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, see, I have told you one, you know, tip or concept, like the very first thing, whenever there's a problem, you document the problem, you analyze the problem, and then you move forward. But in this question, there is no option of documentation, there is no option of analysis, right? Now, how we are approaching towards the problem. Whenever you look at a question, look for effective solution. Okay, there could be multiple 3-4 solutions, right? But look for effective solution. So problem is there. It's an urgent problem. Like it's a problem that's slowing down development work. What you would be doing? Review contingency reserves. It has nothing to do with the question. Reserves is for known risks. It has nothing to do with that. Discuss the issue in next sprint retrospective. Retrospective is for lessons learned, and it is conducted at the end of each sprint. And it is for what went right, what went wrong, what are areas of improvement. It's a reactive approach. It's not a proactive approach. It would not solve your problem. So for example, you have started your sprint. Sprint length is 4 weeks. So it's, let's suppose, day 3, day 4, day 5. So it means you will be waiting for 27 days, right? That doesn't make any sense. If there is a problem, approach it, try to solve it. And retrospective is not for solving the problems, right? Retrospective is documenting your learnings and then improving in the future. So discuss the issue in next sprint. Retrospective doesn't make any sense. Issues are discussed, remember, in daily stand-up. What we did yesterday, what we are going to do today, and what are bottlenecks. Remember, 3 things. So those are discussed in daily stand-up meeting. So option 2 doesn't make any sense. Communicate with the product owner. We don't escalate directly before doing anything. So communication with the product owner. And also this technical problem is not relevant to product owner. Product owner deals with business stakeholders, prioritization of user stories, backlog refinement, backlog management, engaging with stakeholders. Correct answer is consult with the IT support team to find the solution, right? They might be helpful in this regard. Let's read the explanation. All right, keep one thing in your mind. These questions are really close or similar to real exam, okay? Keep this in your mind. So whatever you will be getting in this mock exams, that's your preparation level, okay? Previous questions were a little harder. They were, slightly difficult, as I kept on mentioning. These questions are exactly similar to the exam, level, right? Let's move forward to the next question. Read carefully, please. Okay, just one thing, a correction. This static is written, it is work in progress limit, okay? WIP limit, just for your understanding. All right, who would like to respond? Carl is quite excited. Carl, go ahead.
I'm gonna go with testing as testing has 4 items in its column right now. Unless I'm misinterpreting, I see that number is 6 over there in review, but it's also next to done. So I'm kind of confused. I think there are 4 blocks I see in testing, and there are 3 that I see in review. If there are 4 blocks in testing, then testing is the current bottleneck. Although
Okay.
I'm kind of second guessing myself, sorry, because I would also say that if there's already 3 in review and then those 4 move into testing, or the testing ones move into review, then that also increases the numbers. That could be a potential bottleneck as well. So I think I'm going to go with C, review.
Okay, and Carl, what if in testing, instead of 4, it is written 1, and there is only 1 block? Then what do you think?
Then I'm going to go with oh, wow.
Okay. Think about it. I'll come back to it.
Okay, cool.
All right. I can see a lot of people are still not answering, right? So it's better to revert back to our, previous strategy, because that would at least force you to say something. Okay, so I'm going to the chat window again, and Richard, what do you think?
I just kind of guessed at this. I'm not familiar with Kanban. I don't know what these things are. It looks like that if each one of these things is a story, then most stories are in testing column. So I'd imagine that there's a lot of work there and it's just not being processed past there.
Okay, so it looks like there is a lot of work in testing phase, as Carl mentioned. So that's a blocker or impediment. Okay, Richard, same question to you. If I change testing to, let's suppose, 2, and instead of 4, it is 2, so there are 2 user stories, and 2 is the, instead of 4, it's 2 written, then what do you think? Still testing would be a problem, or then review would be a problem? What do you think?
All right, so Agile is just a complete blind spot. I primarily deal with waterfall.
Okay.
So if there's 2 stories in testing, I just don't understand what that number is below coding, testing, and review. Done stuff is done, so that eliminates C. So basically, I have a 33% chance of picking one and possibly getting more.
All right. Okay. Great. So quickly, let me just talk about it. So number written is work in progress limit, WIP limit, right? So it says in coding, maximum work that you can have is 3 user stories. Under testing, you can have maximum 4 user stories. Under review, maximum you can have 6 user stories. That's the maximum limit you can have. The question says, considering the current workflow, where is the current or potential bottleneck occurring or most likely to occur? So if number of user stories is more than your limit, it means bottleneck is already there, right? So there is no point of discussing that. However, if work in progress limit and number of user stories are equal, that could be a potential blocker. Why? For example, this column has a limit of 4 and it is full. Now, if this team has completed or they complete something, they're not able to move it here because it is blocked. You understand? Why it is blocked? Because it is already full. So potential impediment or blocker is in testing stage, not because it has more work, because it's full to its maximum capacity. So if coding people, they complete anything, they can't move to the testing stage. So here there would be a blocker, right? So blocker is because of testing, right? So correct answer is option B. Let's read the explanation. All right, most of you have chosen option B, and I'm happy. I was thinking like this would be a difficult question. Okay, right. Let's move to the next question. All right. Mohan?
I went with understanding with D, option D, understanding the root cause. Conducting a root cause analysis to understand what the issue is, right? What the reason for the delay is. And once you get to the root cause, you understand what the issue is, the cause of the issue is, then you can fix it by, identifying what the solutions are. So that would be the best, the first action you would take.
All right. Thank you. Kinjal?
I think it's the first step, right? Like what will be the first action? I think that would be goes with like analyze the testing team efforts and break down the structure to identify. So it's like kind of what a first step project manager should do rather than like, so that's what I feel closely with that. Option C can be the answer for that. I'm confused with D as well, but I'm more towards C. So
All right. First time I realized your spellings are Kinjli, not Kinjal. I don't know how do you pronounce your name.
no, it's Kinjal actually. It's Kinjal. I had to
right.
change. Yeah, no
I
problem.
was
Thank
like, I have been pronouncing your name incorrectly in last couple of months.
you. No, it's
Okay,
Kinjal. It's Kinjal. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. So we'll take one more comment. Manmeet.
Hi. I'm not sure if my explanation is okay, but I'd like to answer. D is not an option according to me because we already know the root cause, already mentioned in the question, already overburdened testing team. So I think D is not an option. A is already a solution, like providing the additional resources. I don't think so. We can provide the solution. That's the first step we're going to do. I think that's the second step. After knowing the breakdown structure and identify the task that causing the delay. So according to me, C, I'm not sure. I can be wrong.
All right. Thank you for explanation. So yes, first point is clear. It's already known what's the cause, what's the problem. It's clearly written during a project execution phase, the project manager notices significant delays in various tasks due to the already overburdened testing team. The testing team is already overburdened. So why there is a delay? Because they are already overburdened. So you know the cause. There is no need to do the root cause analysis. Another thing, if we say during a project execution, the project notices significant delays in various tasks. Significant delays in various tasks. Now let's read the option C. Analyze the testing team's work breakdown structure and identify the specific task causing the delay. There is no one task causing the delay. There are many tasks. Option C doesn't make any sense. You understand, everyone? Analyze the testing team work breakdown structure. If there is a question like one specific task is creating problem, then option C would be the right option. Identify that task and then do something about that. As a result of overburdening team, there are many tasks which are being delayed. So option C doesn't make any sense. Now, option A, assign additional resources to the testing team. Okay, that is a solution, but that's not the only solution. Maybe you don't have money for additional resources. Then what you will be doing? You can't afford additional resources. Additional resources are not available. You can do multiple things. For example, you can prioritize your work. You can reallocate your resources. You can outsource something. You can hire a resource. There are multiple options. Once you know your problem or reason, the next step is evaluate potential solutions. What possibly you could do, right? How you can handle this situation. Rather than directly jumping to the answer or the solution, first you need to evaluate. So evaluate potential available solutions. After the evaluation, maybe you will be choosing assign additional resources, but first you need to evaluate, right? I hope it is clear, makes sense. Why these questions are added? Because in past, sessions, we were having questions like analyze root cause, analyze root. So it's not like that always you need to do the analysis. If analysis is there, if you know the root cause, then you need to move to the next step. Correct answer is option B. Let's read the explanation. All right, I hope it is clear. No comment. Let's move to the next question. All right, Genemis, go ahead.
I'm choosing C. I have B and C, but for me, first step is to recognize that in agile methodology, change requests are not considered a bottlenecks because requirements can change. That's why you have to adapt to the changes. That's why we use agile. And then for me, second step would now be to maybe adhere to structured change, but I'm choosing C because that's the first thing to understand. Change requests are not considered bottlenecks in agile.
Okay, great. But do you think that from the statement, it looks like project manager does not have such recognition? Do you think like that? From the statement, what makes you think like project manager recognizes changes as bottlenecks? That's not an issue. If you look at the question, what it says you're managing an agile project where frequent and repetitive changes. It's not just about changes, frequent and repetitive changes in requirements are requested by the client. And what's happening because of that? The results is substantial rework and creates bottlenecks. Now, if you need to do substantial rework and it's a bottleneck, it doesn't mean you won't be doing anything. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Even if it is a change, you need to handle this. It's a problem. Yes, changes are part of the agile process, but if they are frequent, they are repetitive, you understand? Then you need to do something. And if they are creating substantial rework and delay, substantial rework, it's not a normal situation. Okay. So this is response to your question. Carl?
I went with option D because an agile face-to-face is the best form of communication, and we want to be able to speak to someone and work through problems. The send an email does trip you up a little bit, but that's how we establish communication with people sometimes over emails. Like, hey, I need to talk to you face-to-face. Getting on a call with someone face-to-face is the best way to work things out. So that's the first action I would take, is to fire off that email, get that face-to-face set up so I can get in front of that person and work through like, hey, you're causing these bottlenecks and we need to talk about it.
All right. Avinash? You're on mute.
Yeah, hi. So I think option should be B, means adhere to the structured change management process, because here, because of these repetitive changes, it seems like team needs to do all the rework and that creating bottleneck. So to just lower this reworking work with the team and to facilitate team with the structured work, this option looks
All right. Thank you.
right to me. Yeah.
So adhere to the structured change management process. Okay, right. So client is requesting a lot of changes, repetitive and frequent. How adhering to structured change management would address the situation? How it would address the situation? Would client stop requesting changes? What do you think?
No, it's part of the agile
No, but
methodology.
we can come means the client would be aware that if any change they want to apply, there is a process here to apply those changes, and they would know that process in means in advance, so that they will also be in planning before
Okay,
suggesting changes. Yeah.
makes sense. So you're saying if this is happening, so just adhere to the structured change management process. Okay, I'll come back to it, right? Let's take Vamshi's comment. Vamshi, why you have chosen option A?
So I have chosen the option A because the main problem here we are seeking for the repetitive changes, right?
Yeah.
So I have selected like option A and B, but B, if you make the change process as well, but still you are getting the same requirement again and again from the client, still you are doing the repetitive change. So that was an actual issue. That is the reason. So the client can able to finalize the things, then the repetitive issue can be solved. That is the reason I gave the A.
All right, makes sense. Problem, Vamshi, with option A is that first it says direct the client. We cannot direct the client, number one. Even if let's remove this word. Let's suppose it is not direct, it is request the client. So we cannot direct the client.
Yes.
Second thing is we cannot agree on requirements at the start of each sprint, right? Because it's agile process. There would be some changes. There would be some, it's not waterfall where you agree, okay, these are the requirements and you will be working on these. Client can request changes. We cannot fix them. Okay, this is what you would be doing. So from these two words actually make option A irrelevant. First, we cannot direct. Second, we cannot fix the requirements. Okay. Let's move to option B, adhere to a structure change. As Vamshi mentioned, even if you have a process, still you would be getting the request. So you're not addressing the problem. The problem would be addressed. You need to talk to the stakeholder. And in order to talk to that, the best form of communication, as Carl mentioned, is face-to-face. Yes, word email is tricky here, but email is for meeting or for invitation. So it's perfectly fine. Yes, if it says send an email to the client to solve the problem, then it would be wrong. We don't just send an email and solve the problem. Preferred form of communication is face-to-face communication. These days, due to technology, for example, this is also interactive communication like face-to-face communication. The only option that solves the problem, that is option D, send an email to request a face-to-face communication to the client. All right. So Chinamis is saying, wouldn't that be the work of the product owner? That's a very good question. Okay. Now, product owner, Scrum Master, and development team, these are three main, roles in Scrum. But in some projects which are important, where coordination or collaboration is needed, role of project manager is added for all sort of coordination and management. So yes, this could be done by project manager as well, because project manager is there for coordination and collaboration. Okay. Product owner is more like backlog refinement, but this could be done by project manager because project manager manages overall project. So coordination and collaboration among stakeholders could be done by Project manager. Yes. If it has been Scrum Master, then that option would have been correct. And then again, that option should be present in the options. You understand? If that option is not present in the options, you won't be selecting that. So that is not there. So we don't have any other choice. So in order to handle the situation, to avoid changes, repetitive and frequent changes, and to avoid substantial delay, we need to talk to customer. And in order to talk to the customer, face-to-face communication is the best form of communication. Option D is correct. Let's read the explanation. All right, I hope it is clear. No comment. Let's move to the next question. All right, so, okay. Bilal, why you have chosen option D?
Actually, I use the elimination technique. So B and C, I directly eliminated. So I was selecting between A and D. So I went with the option D, perform a detailed analysis for the least content of each component of the solution.
Why you have eliminated B and C?
In C, requires the supplier to prioritize and adhere to the contract. So if the shipment is delayed, he cannot do anything in this. And B, suggest an alternative design. So if you are getting a component from abroad, it means you cannot manufacture it locally.
Okay, right. And B could also be not correct because you cannot directly go with, okay, just design in-house. There could be multiple options. You can ask other vendor as well, right? So you need to analyze first, like which option is right answer. So B is wrong in that sense as well. And C you have already, so you can eliminate B and C. Okay, that makes sense. And why you have chosen D between A and D?
I think D was the most appropriate, that's why.
Okay, D is more appropriate. Okay, thank you. Yusuf?
Hi, everybody. Yeah, again, we start always with analysis before taking an action. So A and D, they have this component. We have to analyze, but I think the D has more broad approach. So it doesn't concentrate in one angle. So you have to analyze more the release content, its components, and you have to understand it, but don't address only the stakeholders as said in A.
All right, thank you. Okay, so who else want to explain? Okay, Kenjal? You're on mute.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah. So for me, I choose option A, that by saying that like whatever the delay we have to make sure that stakeholders should know about this, because as we gonna delay in the project, right? So that's the first thing I thought it can be the correct to let the stakeholders know that because of the component delay, there will be a delay in our project expectations.
All right, now let's evaluate these options. So B and C we have already eliminated. The problem with option D is that it says perform a detailed analysis of the release content for each component of the solution. So if there is a delay in one component, what's the point of doing detailed analysis for each component? Yes, if it says analyze impact of delay of that component, that makes sense. And that is option B. Option A. Make sure that relevant stakeholders and expectations are identified. You should know what stakeholders are expecting and assess the component delay. What would be the impact of component delay? And then it would be followed by what Kinjal mentioned if you need to communicate or whatever you would be doing. Right? B, C, and D are not relevant. A option is relevant because here you are assessing the delay of that component only. There is no need of assessing or assessment of all components. Okay. Correct answer is A. Let's read the explanation. All right. Next question. All right, so I can see various answers. Let's start with Rahul.
I chose D because you've discovered something and think you need to update your project plan
Okay.
so that you can account for something that you haven't really accounted for in the beginning.
All right.
Not sure.
Okay. Remember, project plans are your strategies. Project plans are how you would be handling the situation. So if something is found, you don't directly change your strategy. You understand? If there is a new, discovery, it doesn't mean you directly change your strategy. You need to analyze first. What is it? As I mentioned, first you need to document that. And the question is where to document. You need to document in an issue log, risk register, and assumption log. So this question tests your understanding of an issue, risk, and assumption. What is the difference between an issue, risk, and assumption? That is the question. Okay. So D is incorrect because we don't do that. All right. So I can see option B as well. Just a second. Okay. So Kinjal, why you have chosen option B?
I chose option B. I had chose D, but after your explanation, because we are having the cost issue, like the software is now having, it was open source, now it has a cost licensing fees, right? So I think that's not the issue, that like a risk in our budget plan or something, right? So I think we should update the risk register by mentioning about the licensing cost that gonna impact.
All right.
Because
Thank
that's
you.
not the
So,
assumption. We already know that there is a licensing fee. So assumption can also remove from the option.
all right. So first, let's talk about the difference between an issue and risk. Risk is an unforeseen future event, uncertain future event. You understand? Any uncertain future event that could have positive or negative impact on project is called a risk. This is not uncertain anymore. You understand? It's well known. You have already discovered it. So it's not a risk. It's not an uncertain situation. You understand? So risk register, updating the risk register is not an option. Now, A and C, if it is an issue or assumption. So let's talk to more intelligent people. So Leila is interested in answering. Leila, go ahead.
So like you just said, right, if it's something unforeseen, it's considered as a risk, and something we're sure that this and project manager already discovered that it's a licensing fee. So he knows it's going to happen. So he has to go update the issue log.
All right. Okay. So you think it's an issue. Okay. We'll take one more comment and let's take Swati's comment. Swati, would you like to explain why you have chosen option A? You are on mute. You can write your option in chat window or explanation if you are not able to unmute. Okay, John, would you like to explain?
Okay, for me, I think that at this stage of the project, you make assumptions probably at the start of the project, not in the middle of the project. So now that the project is already in progress, it becomes an issue, not an assumption. Assumptions are made at the start of the project. That's my angle to it.
Okay, great. Now let's read the question again. It says, during a project progress review, it is discovered that the software development tools anticipated to be open source. So it is something which was supposed to be open source. And I'm just changing the word suppose with assumed to be open source. Does it make sense? If I say, wait, if I say, if something that is anticipated to be open source or something supposed to be open source, something assumed to be open source required. So it's an assumption. You assumed in the start like it would happen. So it's your assumption. Now what happened, something is discovered, and as a result of that, your assumption gets invalid. Now you need to update your assumption log. You need to mention that your assumption was wrong. You need to update status of your assumption. Okay, so it's not an issue. It was your assumption that gets invalid. Whenever there is a change in status of anything, the very first thing is you update or rectify or correct the status. Correct option is update the assumption log. Very important. So we should have clarity between issue, risk, assumption, and other similar terminologies. Let's read the explanation. All right. Let's move to the next question. All right. So Rahul, I would love to listen to your interesting explanation.
Okay, I'm not sure, but I chose D. So it's like maybe making changes to maybe the client is having any issues with the contract and there is some confusions. So maybe making updating the contract might be able to make them on the same page that the
So
client is
Rahul,
able.
I'm looking for a vendor to help me develop a learning management system, LMS, and the entire automation and gamification of learning. I would like to hire your organization. So for example, if in the middle I'm not able to pay due to any reason, we can make an amendment like let's do this project free of cost because client is having an issue. So would it be okay? I'm having issue. I'm not very rich, right? Students are not paying much, right? So let's make an amendment and or I will be paying you after 5 years, or I will be paying you at the end of the project. Would it be okay to you? Rahul? So option D says propose contract amendments to the client that accommodate their current financial situation. No, we don't do that, right?
I didn't read it.
Yeah. So we can talk to the client. We can come up with a solution that is mutually beneficial. We're not doing any charity, right? It's not like that, okay, we are just doing things for others. Payment is a part of contract and contractor has to pay it or the client has to pay it, right? So you're a project manager for an organization that provides services to clients. Despite multiple requests and written reminders, a client has not processed the payment for completed services as stipulated in the contract. What is the most appropriate next step? Okay. So option D is not correct at all. Okay. So, okay. Most of you have chosen option B. I can only see one option C. So let's just listen to option C. So again, Kinjal, why option C?
Yeah, I was confusing B and C, but I chose C because, like, sometimes you are like, you are providing service and you are seeing this issue of not getting payments, you try to slow down the pace of, like, development and try to get the client attention that about the payment. So it just like, I didn't thought that we should continue working on the projects with the dispute. The first A, I don't think so. That's the option we cannot hold because it's a relationship between client and service, and that's what we do, right? So at least try to put out. So that's why I chose C, slow down the pace of development and then, get their attention.
All right. So that's like, you're like middle ground. Let's not be too strict. Okay.
In the
Right.
Yeah.
So you have been requesting client and client is not adhering to your request. So it's a problem, right? It's a difference of opinion or it's a dispute between you and client. So before slowing down the progress or doing anything to the project, first of all, you need to follow the contract, what your contract says. Okay. If your contract doesn't say slowing down, would you be doing that or not? If it is not written in the contract,
No.
you can't do that. You can't do that,
Yes.
right?
No.
Then you would be penalized, right? Why you are doing this? So the best course of action in this situation is resort to dispute resolution mechanism. Initiate that, right? So if in case of default, what's the procedure you would be following? If one party doesn't adhere to the contract terms and conditions, what's the procedure? So whenever something happens, follow the dispute resolution method. And maybe in dispute resolution method, the first thing it is written, slow down the process. Maybe. Or maybe it is written like, do negotiation, involve a third party, or do something like that. So rather than putting blame on ourselves by slowing down the progress and maybe getting penalized, option B is the best option. We cannot halt because, again, according to the contract, we have to move. If it is written in the contract, then definitely we'll go with that. So option B, if you read it, continue working on existing projects while initiating the dispute resolution process outlined in the contract. Most of you might have missed this option because you haven't read outlined in the contract. That's the key word. So we should follow the contract. Okay. The lesson is please read the answer and options complete before reaching to conclusion. Let's read the explanation. All right, let's move to the next question. All right. So just to make you guys feel happy and a little comfortable, I have added an easy question at the end, okay? So, okay, Francis, why you have chosen option B?
I chose the option B because I did like the process of elimination. For example, A, there was like he tried a multiple attempt to resolve the issue with the supplier, so there was no positive response. So going to C, attempt to adjust the project schedule to accommodate the delay. I think it does not solve the problem, because if you don't have a supplier or the material to go with construction, that's not a solution at all. And then I went with the D. With D, focus on internal team restructuring to improve the area affected by supply. I think that's not gonna solve the problem of delivering the project on time. So that's basically why I chose BMEC. You can escalate and find alternative the management. If you can find another supplier, that can be like an alternative strategy to get a new supplies for construction.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yusuf, you have chosen option C. Why?
Well, I thought about adjusting the time schedule in terms of not to delay actually, but when I heard him talking about the delay, I don't want to delay the schedule, but to accommodate it. So we should not delay it. We should try to crush use other techniques, but it's not to delay the whole schedule. It's just to use other crushing techniques or something that accommodate the delay.
Okay,
in
makes
other
sense.
activities. But it does, I
So,
don't want to delay the whole project.
all right. But if we read the question statement, Yusuf, it says a high-profile project manager encounters a critical issue with the main supplier failing to deliver key materials on time, risking significant product delays. Now, important part, it says, despite multiple attempts to resolve the issue directly and indirectly with the supplier, including renegotiating delivery schedules and exploring alternative sources. So it has already been done. delivery schedule have already been renegotiated, right? It means project manager might have offered a different schedule. Okay, what's the alternative? So the compression and fast tracking or adjusting the schedule has already been renegotiated, but still the problem is there. The problem persists. So attempting to adjust the project schedule to accommodate the delay would not help because it has already been done and it has
Yeah,
failed.
but if I come to A and B, they are not going to sort the problem again. Continue negotiating and then raising it to the manager. There's no solution. If I go to D and C, the C has a crushing technique which you are now eliminating. So it will continue only with D now. To focus on it. It's again you are changing the work instead of that path to another path. That's the way it is.
So now you're saying if C is
It's out, it
incorrect,
should
then
be
D
D.
is right. Okay, let's
That's
talk about
that's
D.
what I'm saying. Yeah.
D is saying focus on internal team restructuring to improve efficiency in areas unaffected by supply issue. What's the point of restructuring and changing areas which are not affected by supply issue? Yes, if it says affected by the supply issue, then maybe that makes sense. But still, your project is dependent on external supplier materials they would be providing. So restructuring your internal team is completely irrelevant. And especially for those areas which are not affected by supply issue, that is, totally redundant and unnecessary. Option C and D don't make any sense. Now, when situation persists, you have tried a lot, you have explored all the options, you have renegotiated, you have done a lot of things, you have explored multiple delivery schedule, whatever is possible, you have done, nothing is happening. Then escalate the issue to senior management, seek their advice. Maybe you go with termination. Okay, you terminate the contract and maybe you move with another supplier, right? Correct option is option B. Carl, do you want to say something?
No, I was just having my hand up to answer the question, but yeah, I had B as my answer.
Okay, go ahead, answer.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think that the PMI-ism here is that you will always try to solve things at your level as a project manager when possible. And we see in the question that those attempts have been made, and when all else fails in that regard, it is no longer in our hands, and we need to escalate to our project sponsor or senior management to have them intervene.
All right, absolutely. So option B is correct. Let's read the explanation. All right, everybody. I hope you have learned a lot from today's lesson. A lot of people are asking about my next course, my next schedule. So my next course is starting on 23rd of March. It's on 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4 days class, 23, 24, 30, 31st. If you want to join that course, you can register by calling or sending a text to the number, or you can scan this QR code. This would lead you to the registration link. All right, so that's it from today's lesson. I hope you have learned a lot. If you have any feedback about how these sessions are conducted, you can provide feedback directly to me. You can share this with others who are preparing for PMP exam. And based on students' feedback, I told you 7 students passed PMP exam in last 2 to 3 days. And their feedback is that the questions that they are having are solving in these sessions are really helpful. And exam was almost similar to these questions. Okay, so these questions are really helpful for your understanding. And one more thing, this is not your evaluation. This is understanding concepts. So do not, evaluate yourself. Do not get discouraged. I understand these questions are tricky, but that's the only way you would learn. Practice, practice, and practice. solving good quality mock exam is the only way to pass PMP exam. A lot of people who fail PMP exam just because they do not solve good quality mock exams. One of the students, he sent me a message. He failed the exam because he was doing a mock exam and he was getting 65% and he failed the exam. When I assessed that mock exam, it was so easy that I bet all of you can get 90% in that. So if you are solving easy, simple mock exam, you're getting 90%, 80%, that is not, guarantee that you're going to pass the exam. Solve good quality mock exam, that's the only way. And the questions that I have provided to you, 1,600, 1,700 questions, if you're getting 70% marks on those questions, you need not to do anything, right? I hope this would help. Thank you so much for joining. Take good care of yourself. See you on Friday for another lesson. Okay, take care. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Amar.
Thanks, both of you.
Thanks, Amar.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Amar.